John Kaminsky here for Cayman Sound with my musical excursions vodcast, I guess you could call it. It's been a few weeks since I've been on. I apologize. My machine's been down and in the shop, and wouldn't you know it, I finally got a call from a buddy of mine willing to do an interview. So made do with what was available, and I hope you enjoy this. He's a good friend of mine. We work together sometimes. Excellent guitarist, and just a great, fun guy to be around. So enjoy. Dustin Barber, my good buddy.
Hi, John Kaminsky.
Good to see you here,
Mr. Kaminsk.
Thanks for coming by. Help me with my little sessions thing I'm doing.
Yeah, man, glad to be here. Great little setup. I like it, man. It's awesome. It's very cool.
A little messy, but that's the way a studio should be, I guess. It means you're working, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
But you, speaking of working,
yeah,
had some time working with the great Al Green, the Reverend Al Green.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Still with him, in fact. Let's see. I joined up with him around December of 2007. That's when I got the call for that gig. And still with him currently. So.
Yeah, so cool. Did it seem to come pretty natural to you just to slide into that in a musical way? Musically, not necessarily all the specific things with logistics and getting working with the guys and everything, but just the music itself?
You know, it came natural. I mean, I went home and learned a bunch of the tunes, a bunch of the hits that he had done over the years, and then then when I got to my first rehearsal with Al, well, it started out, we had a Fender Twin sitting in the studio that Al Green owned, and it was in Al Green's studio in Memphis. And interesting story, I got in there my first day, and they're like, oh, he's probably not going to be here today anyway. We're just going to rehearse and go over the tunes. And so I sat down, and I was like, can I use this Fender Twin? And I said, yeah, that's for you. I said, okay, cool. So I plug in, and the Fender Twin starts going, it's got these horrible noises.
Of course.
And so, right?
Yeah, your
first day,
yes.
So, and of course, it's Al Green's amp, So... so I'm trying to iron out the details of this Fender Twin and why it's cooking eggs, And
nobody's helping you?
Oh, of course not. No. I'm the new guy, So figure it out, sink or swim. So anyway,
let's see how he handles this situation.
But I'll tell you what helped. What really helped was Al Green walked through the door and sat down in the middle of the room, and I'm like, okay, great.
And you were still messing around?
Yeah. Anyway, So he wanted to go on into a tune. Everybody's like, hey, how's it going? I was like, that. And then he was like, he looked at me and said, Mr. New Guitar Player, are you scrambling eggs over there? That was our first.
So yeah,
that was our first communication. And so I looked back at him and I said, Mr. Green, I said, this amplifier. I think a tube's going on in it, or so. It's not my amp, it's your amp, sir. And and so he's like, Al Davis. Al Davis was the somewhat producer or manager of the band at the time. Al Davis, help this man out. He came to play guitar, man. Get him an amp, get him. So anyway, moving right along. So yeah, I got in with him.
Well, that's good. So it finally worked its way out.
Finally worked it out. Yeah, exactly. But it was an interesting first, 5 minutes with the man,
So shaking that off,
and
then you just went into some kind of a jam, or picked up. What some ideas.
Yeah, he was releasing a new album at the time in 2008. It was an album called Lay It Down.
So you jumped right into his material.
Yeah, the first thing was we played a few songs of Let's Stay Together, some of that stuff, and he just kind of wanted to get a feel for where I was, and that all went well. And then he, at the end of the first rehearsal, he passed out a CD to everybody. This is my new album.
So there were other newbies there too?
Only me. Everyone else, it was 14 players there, plus some engineers and some technicians that worked with him. And anyway, so it went real well. But over time, we would work things out together on stage. He'd call me in my hotel room and say, hey, listen, I need a curly cue and a little nuance here and there. And, So essentially what it came down to, what he wanted was, after my good friend Jimmy Jams passed away, he was the other guitar player. Then me and Al started getting a little more intimate, where he would call me, and say, I want this. I want a curly cue like this. He's like, this kind of.
So you kind of knew what he meant right away. I mean, I would kind of think of it like, little trills and stuff.
little things.
Little noodly fills.
Right, but what
yeah.
he wanted, he was like, when I'm not singing, when I'm not talking, I want you to talk. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So I want you to fill it out, you know, which is what Jimmy Jams, my buddy that got me in the band, the other guitar player who passed on, that's what he was doing. So once I got everything, after Jimmy had passed away, once I got it like Al wanted, which I was really, you know...
Just, I mean, real quick, just I want to ask you, did anybody else in the group, like maybe the keyboardist or another instrument, was he expecting something like that from them too, or was that pretty much kind of your?
It was me.
Your space.
It was my space. He wanted everyone else to do what they do. You know what I mean? Like he says, you know, listen, Dustin. He called me Dustin. And he still calls me Dustin. He said, we've got, you know, all these other players in the band playing chords. We have an organ player playing chords. We have an auxiliary keyboard player, and he's playing chords. So you don't have to play chords. I want you to play the licks, play around me, you know. So that we got it worked out nicely, and he was very happy.
And the way things were arranged, it was allowed for that, and then it wasn't hard to not step on the other parts or anything.
It wasn't, because there wasn't a lot of people filling. The sax player would fill a little bit of organ occasionally, a little bit of auxiliary keyboards occasionally, but it was full. It was there was plenty of room for guitar to be filling throughout most of the parts when he wasn't singing. Of course, there'd be an occasional the background vocalist. We have three of his daughters are singing with us, and then they do a lot too. So sometimes when he's not singing, they're doing parts, and it's like a call and response. But when they're not doing that, then it was pretty much most of the time we do a call and response type of thing, you know.
That's cool. And you got to see a lot of places, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've done 3 world tours, essentially not completely all over the world, but what we call, you know, out of the country, you know, international tours, you know, Europe and Australia, New Zealand, and that kind of thing.
That's wonderful.
A lot of European countries, you know, Ireland, Scotland, and a lot in London, you know, Royal Albert Hall in London, Hammersmith Apollo. So a lot of cool places, and that's the thing about playing with Al Green. You're not going to end up playing, you know, like a dive bar in Daytona Beach or something. You know what I mean? You're going to be playing the big rooms, the Carnegie Halls, the Jay Leno's, this sort of thing. So pretty cool.
That's another thing that you did that at least once, didn't you?
Twice. We did it twice in 2008, and that's because of his new album at the time.
Got to meet Kevin Eubanks.
I met Kevin. I got a picture and hung out with Kevin. Real nice guy. Met Jay Leno. That was cool. Yeah. And Jay's one of my favorite because he's a car guy. I'm a car guy. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's heavy into cars.
In fact, he was at the Concourse d'Elegance the other day too. He was here in Amelia.
Oh, he was here.
He was here. He flew in. Yeah, I think he was here for an auction, for one of the auctions. So pretty cool.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you coming by and having this time with me.
Yeah, man.
You want to do a little plan, do something?
Yeah, jam for a couple minutes. Let's see what we got here. I'll show you the way that we do Let's Stay Together on stage. It's a little different than the album. I heard it going there, and so I added that on stage. I think he uses just a regular minor on the album. Teeny Hodges did that part, but
right. Okay, so that's where that E comes in. Right?
Exactly. And then we all kind of do this together.
Is
minor 6.
No,
you think of it that way.
Of a D9, but then the lick has the minor 3rd. But I always heard that chord in there though when I hear it on the recording.
Check out what we do on stage. It's very cool. So we're like second time around we go.
Okay, then you
That's
go to
what the band does. So now we got the horns. look.
So if I come,
Actually, the first time, I've kind of got a little part that I do. Check it out.
So one thing I like about your playing is you're able to sound like the person you're emanating. You
Right.
almost sound a little bit like the player.
Mm-hmm.
You
You mean the singer or the?
Well, if you're in you're doing a tune, what the guitar player, some of the fills and stuff, the
Right.
guitar player fills, you actually kind of sound like the style of that guy when you're doing it.
Right, I try to.
You got your style all completely, but you're able to what's the word for that? Again, you said it. I think
Mesh.
already.
I don't know. The almighty ending for the Reverend Al Green, which is a wonderful thing,
Okay.
and you'll see it if you go back on YouTube and start watching some of his videos. Is when he jumps up in the air and lands on his feet. His feet are the last note. Would be like. We're watching him.
Oh.
He jumps up in the air. He lands on his feet. Now, if you hit it before he hits it with his feet, then that's not good. He's like, he's similar to James Brown. He really doesn't. He doesn't want mistakes, and then he was telling him in Europe that he charges $1,000 a mistake. So you try to. And then
So he must be paying me pretty darn good. That's what it sounds like.
You're like $1,000. But then the other thing is, the other way he ends song is he'll stand up and he'll bring his arm around like this, and bam, right there. That's the end of the song. And
So how do you know if it's going to be the 2 feet or the
you don't know. You never know. You're really so when you go on stage, your eyes never leave him because you never know what he's going to do. He might change it night after. He might change it every night. It might be something different. He might call you out for a solo. To come out front and do a solo. When I first joined the band, he'd bring me out. When I first joined the band, he brought me out on every single song. It was crazy. He would bring me out and Amazing Grace. All right, Dustin, play. All right, Dustin, let's get married, let's stay together. All the different songs he'd bring me out on. This one.
He just wants you to just get out front. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, he was just trying to see where I was with each, with each.
He was like shoving you out.
Oh, it was great. It was great. He'd be like, you'll see some of the videos. He's like,
"Oh, okay,
come on." But
not
anyway,
like everybody
man,
left. It was like everybody left the stage.
No. It wasn't that kind of solo.
Each one you just get yourself in the spotlight a little bit.
Fabulous band, just 14 amazing players, amazing background vocalists.
And you got no idea when you're going out next, or
we're still waiting on the call for that. We have one more album to complete with Blue Note Records, but
that's awesome.
And he has invited me to play on that one, so we're kind of waiting to see.
Well, I am envious of the experiences you're having there. Not that you don't deserve it or anything.
Oh, quit it, man.
I know that.
Great hanging with you for a few minutes, man. Definitely. Thanks for letting me come by. Appreciate it.
Well, that was awesome, huh? Hopefully I'll get more of those interviews for you guys in the future, and I enjoyed that thoroughly. So please, like I always say, subscribe to YouTube if you aren't already, so you can make a little comment there. Or if you see this somewhere else, I post sometimes too, make a comment, and see you next time. Thanks for sticking around.